The feathers on the arrow, and we're the point.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to the November 7th Planning Commission meeting. First thing we do is stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, can we get a roll call, please?
Here.
Here.
Yep.
Morissette.
Here.
Stiesel. Here. Woosley.
Here. Okay, next we'll have approval of the minutes from the October 3rd meeting.
I move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next move on to public comments. If there's anybody in the audience that had anything like to say, now would be the time. Otherwise, we'll move on to current items. The first one is a consideration of a resolution recommending approval of an amendment to the official zoning map to clean up map inconsistency. And Brandy will talk to us about this.
Sure. Well, if you'll recall from earlier this year, sometime in the summer, we came to you with the request to take a look at our zoning map and take care of some of these properties that have multiple zoning designations. So we, as staff, looked at them. We found a lot. Of the lot that we found 16 that were pretty clear, easy cleanup issues where the zoning was obviously intended to be one color versus another color. So those are generally interpreted if the zoning was 50% or more. If 50% of the parcel was covered with one color versus another color, it's our interpretation that it would be colored the one of greater value. So we approached this by first sending out notification letters to all the people impacted by this cleanup process, just to get a feel for whether or not there would be any concerns or issues from the property owners. So we received one phone call. It was more of just a question and trying to figure out what it is that we were up to. So once I explained that to that property owner, he was fine with it. After we notified them individually, we then sent the standard notification letters to the people within 300 feet of each of those properties. And that generated some questions as well, which once explained, those individuals were also okay with us moving forward with it. So I have, within our presentation here, I could go through each and every one of them, or I could just open it up to questions if you wanted me to point me to any specific properties that you might want to look into a little bit further.
What do you guys want to go through each one? I'm assuming everybody looked at them all, or
Yeah, I think.
just open questions?
Open it. Yeah, a lot of it was pretty self-explanatory as
Yeah.
far as what I could see.
Yes, Brandy, thank you. It was very well organized and easy to follow and understand your reasoning.
Thank you.
I think the only parcel that I've got a question on, I talked to staff about this earlier, was parcel 13. That's the one that looks like it's by, just on the other side of, it has a piece of the South Fork running through it, a big hook through there, a big loop through there almost. Let Brandy catch up and find it here. And, yes, that's it. So the bulk of that is now.
Current zoning is here.
Current zoning is multifamily?
Multifamily is the orange and the blue is the university.
Okay, all right.
It's owned by the university.
Owned by, so that section, the top section is owned by the university and the bottom section, or the whole thing is owned by
The
the
whole thing
university?
is owned by the university.
My only thought is, I would almost like to see us change the whole zoning from neither of those to conservation, given the path of the river through there. I'd rather have somebody come to us and ask if there's a way that they could build something in that space, rather than us zoning it to, was it university was what we were gonna go to?
Mm-hmm.
And have the university trying to fit something in there, and maybe it'll never get developed. I have a hunch it never will, but I don't know, personally, I think it's a better suited for conservation, but I guess I'd be interested in others' thoughts.
To comment on that, I think, we talked about this a little offline. Staff would agree with that. Another thing that we hadn't mentioned is that because the river is running through it, there's probably a lot of undevelopable area anyways because of the floodplain and our shoreline wetland zoning
Yep.
provisions. So we would agree that conservancy is probably the way to go. I don't know if this is the time to do it. After talking with Amy, we think that maybe a more broad scale, what were we going to call it, conservancy overlay type of a zoning district might be created in the future that would be applied at areas like this, instead of this would be a spot zone of conservancy then if we were going to move forward with that.
Yeah. And I don't have a concern that somebody's gonna, or the university's gonna run in there tomorrow and, slap up a new Falcon Center or something on the site. It just, it's not not easily accessible, and it's, to your point, it's got a lot of parameters that would have to be met to shoreland zoning and everything else, and slopes and things like that. That was just my thought. I'm kind of thinking out loud, but maybe I'm too far ahead of the process, and if we want to just change it to university today and come back at a later time and do some sort of a conservancy overlay, I'm fine with that too. I just think it's up for conversation.
Is there,
Go ahead, Susan.
is there any other, or are there any other conservancy zones on the university property?
Conservancy zones, areas you mean appropriate for conservancy? Possibly.
No, I mean currently zoned. It's
Oh.
all zoned university, isn't it?
I think so. Most of the stuff that you see in blue here, I think, is university zoned. I don't have the entire zoning map in front of me, but I have a feeling that most of it is.
So Brandy's got the future land use map up there, which was referenced in the report and calls out for the conservancy. And if you take a look at that, when she gets it up, it really is just a ribbon along the river that the future land use map says should be conservancy, which I think we all can agree with. However, the parcels do not lay out that way in that area. So the university has large parcels. So that's why I was kind of thinking the conservancy overlay when you were raising the question. So in all honesty, I mean, today, if they came in and asked what that zoning was, we would say university, right? Because it's more than 50%.
Yep.
So, I mean, going forward today just confirms that and cleans up the map. And it really, I think, would need to be an overlay if we were going to move forward with the future land use map in the future.
I have no problem with that. I mean, there's realistically not, is there even access to the property from the west? Oh, I guess there's a little sort of a stub of East Park Street maybe that they can get there, but the property, the parcel's not even really accessible anyway.
I've been down there in the past. There used to be, a long time ago, there used to be a little wooden bridge down in this area. You remember that?
It's painted red, I
Yeah, that was the red bridge, and you walk over,
Oh.
it's like a shortcut. So, but that's all gone.
Yeah.
But most of the way the students walk now, they come down that pathway that goes past the wall and
Yeah, the amphitheater, yeah.
cut off actually onto Broadway Street. There's another paved path system that brings you up and then right out
Yeah.
to South Main Street.
Okay, well, I'm fine with it. Let's move it to university or take the staff's recommendation and go forward. We can discuss at a later time,
Yeah, the overlay.
conservation overlay.
Okay. Anybody else have anything?
You want a motion?
I will entertain a motion then.
Okay, I move the official zoning map be amended to clarify the zoning of the 16 properties that were presented to us in the packet.
I'll second that.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next one is a consideration of a resolution to amend the South Main Street corridor study. Tony's going to give us a little presentation here.
Just a brief one. What I'm going to do is, here, I know that in the package you had a link to the actual study, but I just bought one with, where I marked where the changes were going to be.
Oh,
If
okay.
anybody's interested to see
Yep.
where it is in context. So Mayor and Plan Commission members, what we have tonight is a consideration of a resolution to amend the South Main Street Corridor study. Remember the study we worked on for, about a year, and then we approved that late in 2016, and I think it was early 17 that the City Council approved it. Since that time, the city's been working with a developer on, and he's here tonight, Mr. Sweeney. And this is over at the 700 block of South Main Street, which we all know as the McEwen block. And the study that, as it was done, doesn't address specifically housing for of workforce or affordable housing. So what we've done is taken a look at just some of the verbiage in the study and updated it. As you can see in your packet, it's areas that are shown in red. And if those are approved, then after tonight, then we'll send it along to the City Council on the 14th, and they'll also take a look at it. And then if they'll approve that, then we will amend the plan, or excuse me, the study. And then that will be helpful in the Mr. Sweeney's application to WIDA for available funding to help with the project. So what you have here before you, if you have any questions on the changes that we're proposing to make, you can ask. But we also have a resolution for your consideration. If that's, again, if that's approved, then we'll move this on to City Council. And that'll take place next week. So we're on a little bit of a fast track. So is there any questions?
You got anything?
I just have a quick
Sure.
question about the type of housing, and we're using the phrase workforce housing, I believe. And can you talk a little bit about the definition of that? I mean, that's fairly, kind of new to me in a way.
Yeah,
and-
it's broad, and it's I think it's meant to be workforce housing for, it's affordable housing for people of a certain dollar range. The developer's here tonight. If you want to ask him any specific questions, he's consented to answer anything that you may have specific to the project itself.
That owner-occupied housing, is it, or is it rental? Is that maybe a little bit of a different picture, if I could?
Come on up. Just introduce yourself. And
Sure.
Hi, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Brian Sweeney, and I am with Cohen Estrie Development Group, and we're based out of Overland Park, Kansas City. However, I'm from a town just up the road called Stillwater, Minnesota, and I'm a former Director of Planning and Economic Development for the City of St. Paul, and have been working with Cohen Estrie for several years. Cohen Estrie specializes in workforce housing in probably 6 to 8 states. And definition of that is quality, affordable housing for the working person. I mean, it can be, the majority of it is 50% of AMI, 60% of AMI, or above. In a workforce housing project like this, we actually have X percent of the units are market rate units. So it is a product, what we're envisioning for the 700 block. We have a purchase agreement with the sellers, and we're speaking with staff about hope to bring to the City Council in the next 3 weeks not just a pretty picture, but a great plan that's a very attractive urban product that would be right on Main Street as an entrance from the south into the downtown. We think you'll like it a lot. So I've actually been speaking with Buddy and other staff for about 2 years, looking for sites in River Falls. It's a very attractive community to us. We're looking at 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 3 bedrooms for this project, and it would be as it's proposed internally right now, and we're working through some of the specifics again, which I know staff will get to you soon and will be in front of the council, looking at a 4-story product, and even as many as 70 units for the site, so.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else have any questions?
I just have a statement. I sat on the self-made quarter project with a variety of people, and I look at where it says encourage a mix of retail and services. Is there any thoughts of having any retail in there to draw people down the corridor as opposed to just driving past the corridor?
Right. The current proposal does not have that. However, we think 70 apartments that are occupied is going to greatly increase the traffic for retail all along South Main Street and into Main Street. So
So in regards to mixed use, it's not
correct.
retail, it's just
Correct.
simply housing?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else? No? I've seen the preliminary plans, it looks very nice. I think it'll look really good there. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion, we approve resolution PC 17-007.
Second.
Any more questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, let's see. Next, we'll have an update on the dog park plan. Amy will, somebody made a dog noise up here. It was kind of funny.
Okay, good evening. We wanted to just give you some updates on things that are happening within community development and other areas that, as Plan Commission, you should probably be aware of. I think the dog park concept went to Park Board last month, and Councilmember Watson was interested in assuring that Plan Commission knew the thoughts that were happening around this project. So just a quick update. If you're familiar with the city property down off of County Road FF, it's the old landfill. That is currently where the city is proposing to put in a dog park, probably this year, if the weather holds, otherwise next year. So if you know the property at all, hold this with me. This area that you see here is actually where the landfill sits, and these are the row of trees. Then this is ag land that the city leases out, sorry, up here. So it's this area where the landfill is that's being proposed. Currently, DNR standards require that the landfill be fenced for security reasons. That fence right now, I think, is probably 50 years old and is in need of repair. So the proposal includes fencing around the entire property. Then there would be a smaller fence up here in the northwest corner. This is about 1.5 acres, I believe, that would be for a small dog area. The rest of this area then would be for large dogs. This right here would be about a 20-space parking lot, I believe, with double fencing here to either ingress or egress out of either area so that dogs aren't coming into conflict with each other. So this is a use for this property that currently has no use, right, except for the landfill. I think, staff has been considering that it is far on the south end of town, so we're not quite sure if it will get the use. I think the folks that we've talked to or heard from thus far seem really interested in the project and seem to think that dog parks really draw. So even though it is maybe on the south end of town, folks from the north side may drive down here just to exercise their dogs and have them in that social space together with other dogs. So again, a land use that we thought the Plan Commission should be aware of. Park Board was in support of this, and staff has been talking with the town of River Falls as well, who has been in support of this too.
Amy, I haven't seen any more information than this, but only what I've heard. At one point, I thought there was the ability to access some funds from Pierce County? Is that correct?
They have been talking about that, and I think that might be en route through the town of River Falls.
Okay,
I'm not sure if that
okay.
can or will happen.
And then on your map, I see the red dots. I assume those are the vents for the monitoring and so forth.
That's
There's no
correct.
concerns about those or any of the fumes or gases escaping through those vents?
I've not heard any.
I know that we're monitoring that pretty closely, and it seems like that continues to contract every year when we get the
Right.
report at the council level. So it's slowly, it's doing what it's supposed to do, I guess is my point.
Yeah,
But, okay, thank you.
yeah.
Back to just a quick question about funding. So you mentioned that there was maybe other resources from the county, but is there volunteer groups doing any fundraising for this or any contributions that way? For example, years ago, there was some for disc golf, and there
Sure.
was fundraising for that. Is there anything going on with that, or are these funds that are just available and dedicated for this project as part of a longer plan that we had?
Yeah, so I haven't been coordinating the project, but I believe, and council members, maybe you can help me, there are funds from the landfill project, I think, that are being dedicated towards this.
There, if I remember right, there is a reserve amount there that we're required to hold, but I'm not sure that we're able to tap that. I don't have any, that would be a Julie or
Yeah, I'd have to check in with Julie on the funding.
funding question.
Yeah, I know we had it slated, I think, in the budget for $100,000, and right now the estimates are well under that.
And it's basically just a fence and the lot, right? I mean, what other parts of the facility is there?
There's the fencing in the parking lot, potentially, obviously, it's going to take staff time to get it prepared and then maintenance afterwards, but.
Any thought to water on site and/or, I know there's been some conversation about, do we provide water, do we not? Do we provide some sort of a structure for animal waste and other garbage? And what's the discussion at the Plan Commission, or the Park Board about that?
Yeah, and Susan, chime in. I think that the plan from staff right now is to provide waste receptacles, garbage cans, and such for the waste. The water, yeah, is an issue, and Park Board had taken a look at some policies that would be posted on site, and I think one that would need to be added is there is no water on site, so please be sure to pack your own water in.
Yeah, we couldn't. I don't
And then a
think we-
porta potty.
Right.
So there will be waste removal, services there
We
to
wish.
remove the containers of baggies of,
Yes, and whether our staff does that or whether it comes on the typical city route that picks up at parks is to be determined yet.
And as far as that Pierce County funding, from what I understand it, even though the township of River Falls was cooperating with us, that it had to actually be on property owned by the township of River Falls.
Okay.
One last question, not to belabor it, but is there a model for this as far as what others, we're looking at another city and saying we're gonna do it like them or anything like that, or is this just?
Well, this was
just
brought
us
to us by staff. I think it's just kind of bare bones at this point.
Okay.
It is. I know that Cindy Danke, our recreation coordinator, was looking at other communities, and she had pulled up few different sets of regulations that Park Board had before them. Terry Kuslik has been kind of spearheading the project, and on a personal side, he owns a kennel and has for a number of years, so he's got that expertise behind him as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else? No? Thanks, Amy. Next is an update on Wayfinding project.
Just leave it. Just put this back up. Oops. So you'll recall earlier this year, we hired Guide Studio to prepare a wayfinding plan for us. And staff and the steering committee have been meeting over the course of the summer to help them determine where we would need signage locations throughout the community. What are the top 5 destinations? What are the, what's the general vision for sign design for our city? And so they prepared a couple of conceptual design families for us with all the way from the gateway sign to the little miniature directional signs to the larger ones that have multiple destinations pointing in the different directions. And we have since met with the steering committee to whittle that down to 1. And they have given us staff a revised set of plans with the 1 design for the whole family. And staff will be preparing a presentation to the city council on that next Tuesday. So that'll be unveiled at that time. And then after that, assuming we get a thumbs up from council, we're going to be moving forward with them, with Guide Studio, to have them prepare the final designs and the bid documents and the final planning document for us to bring forward to council in December for hopefully a formal adoption of all of that. And then we hope to get signage started to be installed next year sometime.
Anybody have any questions about that? Oh, thanks, Brandy. Okay, next we have an update on the housing needs assessment.
Mayor and Plan Commission members, you may recall we've been working on a intensive housing needs analysis for the community, and this is something that's been a long time coming, and we put together an RFP earlier this year, and we advertised it out, and we had over the summer we had 3 different firms that submitted their proposals, and we selected Maxfield and Associates. And what we'll be doing is this is more of a quantitative type analysis than a qualitative type analysis, so that we'll be looking at all the different needs for housing within the community. I mean, we just spoke about affordable workforce housing, and I don't know, or I don't think any of us know what the actual real need for. There is a need, but we don't know what exactly the need is. And that's what we're trying to get a handle on. And we'll be doing this for not only affordable workforce housing, but for all different types of housing segments within the community. And we'll be looking at current analysis and projecting for 5, 10, and then 15 years. And hopefully that'll be the basis where we can be updating that as time goes along. And also it will help us guide, maybe we will, when we go back and take a look at our comprehensive plan, to update that as far as the housing element is on that, then we'll have better information. So where's that right now? We've given the consultant information, and we'll give them more as they need. The plan is to have it ready by the end of the year or early next year, so that we'll have that before I'm sure we'll bring it to the Plan Commission and before City Council probably early next year. We're running out of meetings for this year, so if there's any questions that you have specific, maybe I can try to answer those. Otherwise, we're working on that, and as I said, it's something that's been a long time coming.
Anybody have anything?
Look forward to seeing it, just,
Yeah.
for information's sake.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
Next one is development review update.
I'll take that one from here if you're okay.
Pretty good.
The updates and information section, I don't know that we've been filling in much in the past few months, so hopefully we'll get you caught up and keep you informed as a plan commission. The development review update one will probably keep on here. So as we get formal submissions in development review, we'll go ahead and let you know. So you're informed, right? So the development review process from the commercial and industrial standpoint is handled at the staff level. However, you know, if there are ever issues, it will come to Plan Commission. So just so you know, right now in the pike, we've got a submission from Aldi and a submission from Dollar Tree. So staff are working on both of those currently.
Okay. Thanks. Our next planning commission meeting will be December 5th at 6:30, right here.
Really?
Yeah, that's about it.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?